to do a bit of a wrap up. Something myself and Hayden talk about a lot is just like everyone's going away with like a key priority and something to focus on from the weekend. So obviously, just to kind of recap the weekend as a whole, we went through conviction, so having belief in yourself, your vision, your identity, and where you're going. Obviously, then Hayden did a talk on capture, so getting yourself known. The connection piece around trust and building authority, then the conversion piece, and then Daniel had an amazing talk on improving client results, LTV, and hiring A players to build something bigger than you. So I know obviously for each of you, you'll be kind of at like different stages. So what we want to do today is just get understanding from you the one kind of key priority that you're going to go away this weekend from and to implement, and then any question that you may have around that as well. So Leon, for you, is there like a big kind of key priority that you're going away from this weekend?
Yeah, I think the biggest one then for me is just the delegation aspect.
Mm-hmm.
I think we actually spoke about this before. It's probably helpful for everyone here. It's like I think where I struggle is like sometimes I'll like catastrophize in my head or think like 5 or 10 or 20 steps ahead. Like I remember we were chatting about that.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll think about hiring somebody, but then I'm like, okay, I need the clients coming in, then offer attention. Then you start to nearly put it off because of that. And then it's like, okay, well, if you focus on, rather than thinking of 5 steps down the line, just focus on step 1, put up the post first, and then pick the individual, and then, follow it from there. So I think that was really helpful. Like Daniel, your talk was class as well. Like just kind of give a bit of an eye opener on like the steps and stuff. It's just a bit less overwhelming just coming away with that info and stuff. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I think Leon actually said something to me. He was like, in your fitness business, how did you go from coaching over 100 clients yourself to coaching none? He's like, that just seems so far away for me. And I was like, it is far away. It seems far away because it is. But if you think about that like finished destination of maybe wanting to get there in the future, you'll probably never start because there's going to be like a feeling of overwhelm there with how much you have to do. But what we said is like, get your first coach, get them 5 to 10 clients. And then before you know it, like your identity changes quite a bit. And, I've had clients who have stalled on getting their first coach for ages. But then before you know it, they're like, I need a second coach. It becomes you delaying that first coach to needing 2 coaches in a matter of time. So it's like, if you know that's the next step for you, it's just backing yourself as well. So, setting yourself the thing of, I back myself that I'll get the lead flow to make sure I fill up this client. Because if you kind of go in with that mindset, you'll make it happen. Anything clarity you want on, or just ready to execute?
Yeah, fairly clear.
Okay, so we'll all be waiting for Leon's post up on Instagram this week, looking for a coach.
We'll do it today.
Yeah, sure. Katie, any big priority or anything you're unclear of?
I think mine's similar. Like I'm in a position where I want to hire another coach, but I think listening to like Daniel as well, seeing like actually sometimes hiring another coach might not actually improve like your profit margins, and actually it might make things harder. So I think I need to just sit down and actually look at the numbers and look at if it'll actually like benefit me.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe I just feel overwhelmed at the moment that I feel like I need another coach, but actually do I actually need another coach, or am I just overwhelmed that I haven't actually figured out?
Yeah, I think for anyone, like if you feel you're at a point where time could be an issue, but you also maybe feel like your boundaries aren't as good as they could be, or maybe your time management isn't, it's like fix that first. I think even Hannah and I discussed around like, okay, I'm happy for you to try get really busy for a month if you want to if you want to have that feeling of like, okay, I actually do need a coach. So sometimes, even though it's like maybe not, even if I know they need a coach, but there's a bit of like resistance there, I'm like, okay, let's go for a month, just you, go all out, see how busy you can get. So then you like categorically can say, yeah, I definitely need it, because sometimes we need that kind of realization. And then around kind of like the payment structure of like understanding if, is it the right thing to add a team member with the expenses that come with it? I always like to look at it from kind of going back to the freedom number. So let's say if a business is doing 20k a month, just as an example, and there's 4k of expenses, so they're making 16k profit, but they want to be making 25k profit in the month. But they're like, okay, me at 20k and the 4k of expenses, like I can't, like we're at capacity in all angles. So like I'm never going to reach 25 unless I do something to help us out here. So then it makes sense of like, hey, that 4k might have to become a 5k or 6k expense, but then it's just making sure on the front end in terms of revenue, we get the revenue in, that the profit is still going up. And I think maybe to Daniel's point yesterday, the error people can have is, it's a 20k business with 4k of expenses, so they're making 16k profit. They throw some more in ads, they're not really clear on the numbers that they're doing, and all of a sudden it could be, 20, 21k, but they're actually spending more, making less, or making the same, but it's just a more stressful, heavier business. But if you can be clear of like, hey, we're now earning instead of 20k, 25k, extra 2k of expenses, but like there's 3k of extra profit, maybe the business feels lighter for you. That's how to kind of look at it. Yeah.
And this is where I was kind of coming back to the operational drag that can come with taking on team members. It's also like, if you think about, you have 2 coaches in the business now, you now need to take double the sales calls. So if you can't personally do that yourself, you're going to have to hire another closer, which means that you're now hiring another employee. So you're not just hiring a coach, you're also hiring a closer. And then if you're hiring another closer, you need more calls booked in. So now you're hiring a setter. So like, this is where that operational drag comes from. It's like, you hire one coach, but there's a big team behind that coach that are trying to make sure that they get enough clients. And that's the kind of hidden cost that comes with running a business that a lot of people don't realize when they start to look to scale. And obviously having Hayden and Connor in your corner trying to guide you and make sure you have the right resources and steps in place before you go to that next level is really important. But another thing that, if I can give some wisdom and advice, is also like, is that even what you want from your business?
Mm-hmm.
Like something you shared in the mastermind, Connor, which was like, intelligence is knowing what you want from life.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important as well, because a lot of times we might think the natural next step is to hire coaches and to have a team, but as you start to hire coaches and you start to create a team, you're actually now becoming more of a manager, becoming more of a CEO as opposed to a coach. You're going to remove yourself more and more from coaching. If that's what you want from your business, like you just want to have a team of people that do the coaching for you and you don't want to coach anymore, or you just want to be the face of the business and you want to have other people coaching for you, then that is a good idea. But if you love coaching and you're like, I want to be the one coaching all the clients, then maybe it's better to keep yourself as a coach and then start to build a team around you that can support you with being able to maximize your capacity to coach. So having people that can help you with your marketing, having other closers in your team that actually do the sales calls for you, so that you can free up time to just continue doing what you're doing, and look at it more as like, how much growing my business and growing my revenue and my profit comes from me being able to charge more, as opposed to me being able to help more.
Is that how do you like want to double your revenue without doubling your workload?
Double your price.
That was the thing I was just going to add in, was around pricing. So if you do get to the stage of like, I don't actually want to hire another coach, or like you're reluctant in the short term, something I was saying to Katie, like you just need to increase prices. Because if you're getting a lot of leads coming through, there's some like limiting belief in you to increase your prices, then you're getting stressed because all these clients are signing up and saying yes. To me, that's a sign sometimes that you're undervaluing yourself, because slight resentment can end up creeping in where you're like, oh, I haven't upped my prices because I don't believe it, but I don't really need the clients, but I'm still taking these calls and keeping at the same price. These people are signing up, I'm getting busier. Slight resentment creeps in because you should be valuing yourself at a higher note. So if you don't end up looking to kind of scale in terms of client numbers, just being able to put your prices up. Jack?
Stop telling myself that like I'm doing enough. It's very easy to kind of, I think, transitioning from like working from somebody where like I'm happy to work as many hours as needed, to then working for yourself, you can kind of get comfortable and like tell yourself like, that's okay, I'll do it later type of thing.
Yeah.
And I thought like the difference between like where I am to where I want to be, I was like, surely it can't just be like working a little bit harder, but it like really is. And I think that's just kind of been the realization, is like I'm doing a lot, but like, there's always more that I could be doing. And I think that really could just be like, even just coming out like on the first day here, and maybe it was a case of like not knowing what to expect, but coming out like at like 6:30 on like Friday and everyone's out here working on laptops, I'm like, holy shit, like I've got work to do type of thing. So that was the biggest realization for me, I think, from that. But then also, like I have like incredible imposter syndrome, and it's like, I know being in this environment, not that I don't feel comfortable, but like just feeling like maybe everyone else is so much further ahead with me. And then I've kind of realized that, you know what, like I'm actually not that far away, if that makes sense. Like in terms of like skill, knowledge and stuff, like we've all got like different assets and different abilities, which is great, but like I feel like I've still been able to provide some value to people. And then it's just literally just trying to like bridge that gap. It's like, okay, well, if I'm not that far away in skill set and mindset and knowledge and stuff like that, like what is that gap to everyone else? And I think it's just a case of doing the shit that I've been putting off, basically. So.
Yeah, fucking love that. Yeah, I think that's a big thing. Like we'd speak about a lot. Like at any events, everyone in the room is exactly the same, and that's because, yeah, as you said, you'll have expertise in loads of areas to help anyone in the room, and at the end of the day, we're all just at different chapters, but we all have the same goal about, you know, getting what we want from life. And then I suppose the question, how do you think you can kind of go back into your normal environment and have that level of execution you feel like you need, just maybe better? Well, you do say you plan stuff out, so is there anything you want a bit of clarity around, or that you've kind of come to the realization, I need to put myself in this environment, even if you create that for yourself, to make sure you execute to level?
I think it's actually changing the environment, to be fair. Like, I think just like, even if it's just a case of going to something as simple as just going to a coffee shop and actually doing
makes a big difference.
productive, because just at home it's just too comfortable to just, you're surrounded by things like distractions all the time, and I think I've said it to you before, like I just get distracted very easily, and it's just putting things off. So just a change of environment, I think, is really good. Something as simple as that could really just like help me to lock in for a few hours, and because even if it's just like a work block of 2 hours that like I do nothing, it's going to be more effective than me spending 6 hours like just completely distracted.
100%.
So I think
But even like in the morning, I'll always be able to work from home that kind of like 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. before the gym. I'm always pretty locked in. But that afternoon when I come back from the gym, if I don't have calls, it could be really unproductive if I stay at home. So I'll always go to coffee shop, because again, you're just there. Even just simple things like laptop open, I have a laptop bag, throw my phone in the laptop bag on the other side of the table, and just small things like that just help you stay in the moment a bit more. Then
when Jack was speaking, I feel like I've had a similar kind of realization, in that like I know that I'm still like very kind of like new in coaching, and I feel like my biggest realization is just like that it's okay that I'm new at coaching, and like I'm still figuring it all out. And like I was speaking to Mark last night, like I know I've got to go through like the trenches of it all to like get to where a lot of you guys are, and like so I think it's just like been really inspiring to see like how well you guys are all doing, because I feel like it's like my goalpost of like, okay, like this is what's possible, like this is like, and you guys are all like living like pretty like decent normal lives as well. You're not like absolutely like run through the wall of like tiredness and everything. I mean, I don't know, but within reason, you know what I mean? Not what I, but yeah, so I feel like that's been like a really big thing. But I think as well, like in terms of my biggest takeaway is just really making sure that I'm like not almost too scared to grow, because I'm like, I am wanting to make sure I'm obviously not growing too fast to what I can handle, but like also knowing that it might be okay to almost like sometimes grow too fast and realize it was too much, and then take a step back and just not like put limits on myself based on what I think I can do, because there's never been like a time where I've not been able to like figure it out. So just kind of like leaning back on that a bit.
I think two things. One, might sound a bit cliche, but it's so true. Like, it's almost like you'd say for a fitness client, if someone signed up with you and was like, I'll be happy when I get a six-pack, you'd categorically know the six-pack won't make them happier. And I think it's very much the same way about like a revenue number for you. So it's like, even though it wouldn't be fun if we're at the end of the destination, like if we achieved everything that we set out, because that's the whole game that we're playing. So it's being able, like, two things I like to look for. One, actually having a huge amount of pride about like wherever it is, like being in this room today and what you've accomplished to be here. But then two, that kind of excitement and that drive about like what you have to do going forward. And I think there shouldn't really be an end game for people. And like, that doesn't mean more and more revenue. It can come in many different facets, but always knowing that, you know, there's something for you to do and build on. Actually, I want to go to I'm just thinking about the people I didn't ask a question to yesterday. Mark.
To be fair, it's very similar to Jack's. Like, and I think I said this yesterday, it's speed and conviction. Like, I know that. Like, being in a room with people obviously in February and now, you know you're there. There's not without, like, everyone is unbelievable coaches, but you know I feel like there's the ceiling's there, like, well, I'm ready to break through it. But I know that it's a case of, that's why I didn't ask you a question yesterday, because I feel like there's just the gap isn't anything that I don't know. It's a gap of doing, like doing the do. It's there's no other way to say to Hayden or to you, what do I need to be doing differently? Because I know that there's just a not doing enough gap in that gap. It's not a place of I don't know what I need to move the business forward. I know it. It's simple. And I feel like I've seen that happen. Like, I've went through periods of time where when I've been putting off the things that I know that I need to be doing, I've seen the business just fly, absolutely fly, and then I get comfortable, and then I'm like, oh, thinking that's gonna happen again. Take that back step. Very similar to yourself, get distracted from things. And I think for me, it was one of the biggest ones from this weekend was arranging things so I can start to get the tasks that I fucking hate to do out the way a lot area, and just really start. I think me and Leon had this conversation. It's just really like spending the next 6 weeks or so before I even head away, just like getting that task done and becoming so autonomous with the things that I'm putting off. Because I don't think there's anything else that is slowing the business down but me, in all honesty.
And then because at the end of the day, you know, there's ebbs and flows to business, and I think to be able to go into like a sprint phase when you're doing more and pulling back is good, and it's healthy to do it. So it's not that that's bad, but maybe where the negative comfort side of it creeps in for you, like what do you think you need to do to ensure that doesn't kind of keep creeping in for you? Like, is there anything?
It's interesting because obviously when I was in the last mastermind, I did create that discomfort straight away. Like I created it, and it did create an agency. But then I started to get a weird feeling with the agency, like Jack said, of like, you know, I'm doing a lot here. And I felt like I was like putting like an extreme pressure, like a burnout on myself as well, because it was all I was thinking about, which is a good thing and a bad thing. But I started to notice myself like putting off relationships and not speaking to people and stuff like that because I went so honed in on one thing. So for me now, it's about actually, as I say, there's never ever going to be, I think when you chase a work-life balance, it's never going to happen. But actually being able to understand where I can prioritise the things that I need, and also understanding from the lesson that I've had over the last 3 months is these things aren't forever. So when you've achieved the number, it's not going to last. Do you know what I mean? And I think that lesson is probably going to be the thing that pushes that on instead of staying comfortable now, because I'd never had that before. I'd never had a moment where I'd hit a big number and I was like, the next month was just a lot steadier.
Yeah.
Never had that. I was like, well, even though it was a nice month, I'd never had that. So I think being able to use that as the lesson now is probably the answer to that question of not getting comfortable anymore.
Yeah.
Because I can keep putting myself in uncomfortable situations, but then if I'm not responding well to it mentally.
I think it's just like a standards thing as well, you know, if we think about, instead of, like you mentioned about pressure on yourself, because that would be your pressure of the outcome of what you're going to achieve.
Yeah.
But if we just think about like, okay, what are the standards that I want to show up with, and very much the same for you of like, and actually to Amanda and Daniel, we set like a big revenue goal at the start of the year. And I was like, and they were a bit like, oh, I don't know if we'll like be able to achieve it. And I said, regardless, I think you will, but regardless if you do or don't, if you go into like, we're going to show up as these business owners and we're going to have these standards day to day, I was like, that is more important than any end revenue number in the end. So sometimes it's kind of setting yourself a goal based on, okay, this is the identity I want to live to, this is a business owner I want to be, and how do I show up as that person?
Yeah.
And that gets so much more than, you know, the number, because that's a byproduct anyway.
I think procrastination comes from a lack of clarity. So it's a lack of clarity in like why you're doing what you're doing. So we've all had certain things in our lives, like whether it be a marathon, whether it be bodybuilding, you've been super diligent on that, and there's no procrastination. You turn up doing the sessions, eating what you need to eat, because you've got such clarity in what you're doing in order to achieve that goal. And sometimes this is why we always ask the question of like, what are you doing this for? Like, what is the end goal, or not the end goal? What is that you're looking to strive to? Because when you know that, and you like, we had this conversation last night, whether you remember it or not. But, and I was talking. I was like, almost the first step is just understanding like what you're doing it for, because until you have that, you're always going to have that procrastination. That thought process is always going to creep in of like, I can just do that later, I can do it. But when you know so certainly on what you need to do on a daily basis in order to achieve that, it's not a case of like needing to work harder or do more. It's just like taking action on the thing that you know is going to move the needle the most. So that's often like the biggest thing that I see. Oftentimes, if we're still having that procrastination, there's something there's like a psychological thing that's holding us back from that.
Yeah, I actually written the notepad yesterday. I can't remember who it was who said it, but it was actually about establishing what the long-term vision of the business was. I've thought a lot in 6-month blocks instead of, right, okay, where do I actually want to be next? Because I do that with my own physique and what I wanted to do. It's like, where do I want to be in 12 months' time, or what am I doing this for? Because I don't think I've been clear on what the long-term vision's been for a while. Everything's been like short, which is not a bad thing, short-term based of, I want to do this by this point, but why am I doing that? Do you know what I mean? I think you actually said it's a blur. It's all good, knowing what you want to do in 3 months' time, but like I've had that point before where the business has done well and it's sort of crumbled because I wasn't looking at the long term, I was looking at the short term. So I think that's probably something I need to just genuinely sit with, no distractions, no nothing, and just get clear on.
I think just one thing to add as well, which I think is important, there will be different entrepreneurs that have different like levels of work, and it doesn't mean, again, if you feel like it's a lack of execution and I want to be further ahead, it's taking inspiration from it. But it's also not feeling like you have to have a business completely, because I've even had moments like that where, you know, I've seen someone else and I would feel like I'd be quite a good worker, and I'd see someone else and they're just like a different level of relentlessness. But then I get speaking to them, and there could be a few things behind that of like why they're working so much, or maybe something from before that they're trying to get away from, and it's like, hey, I'm just living in a different mind frame to them, so I don't want to be like them because I'm not envious of them. I respect what they're doing, but like something I went into this year about is kind of having like calm intensity, so like intensity in the work that we're doing and how we're going about things, but also like a calmness to what I'm doing, because that just like suits me. So like also don't feel like you have to go completely away from who you are, so like take inspiration from it, but like there is going to be a version of you that's different to them, which is completely okay as well.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Lauren?
I've listened to like everybody speak, and it's kind of turned me off wanting to grow the team, and I don't like the stress from that. And I think it's easy to kind of compare and see, oh, okay, somebody is making 70k or like 80k or 100k, but then if you break it down in terms of the profit, I have a big team, they're paying them for this and that, and I think in my head I compare a lot to people, but I just need to continue playing the game. And I feel like for me, I hear from my dad or my mom or people saying, or my friends saying, oh, you need to slow down, you need to have a life, you shouldn't be doing this run or doing that, or you need to have a drink, or you need to have this. And from being here, I'm like, actually no, I actually kind of enjoy being a million miles an hour, and I feel like it's working for me, and if I keep going, I'll get to the place I want to be in. And I don't actually think that I need to change that. I think I can do things to be smarter, like the tax and stuff like that, and like investments, but if I break it down, I don't think I want like a third coach, and I don't think I need to charge the prices I'm doing at the moment. I can charge more, and just be smarter of how I'm doing things. But I don't want to slow down, and I don't want to pull back on work. And I think from you as well, I've learned about like socials and stuff. I'd be like obsessed with socials, but then I also think that works because it gets me to the way I am now. And I think I'm listening to too many people telling me too many different things. So why am I changing? Because Instagram is changing. So that's what I've got from the weekend.
Yeah, great. And I think you know, with you not growing the team and kind of keeping the same capacity, it's just like supply and demand. So if supply is low, like you don't have much availability, but demand is high, as you said, that's just for you to increase your prices. First mentor I worked with was just a month before the COVID lockdown, so Feb 2020. And I remember like hysteria, my parents being like, what's going to happen with the business, and it was just about the time I was trying to get going with it. Was on a call with the mentor, and he's like, this is a great time. He's like, everyone's at home, no one's spending money, and you just need, there was that one voice, and I was like, everyone else is irrelevant, and I'm listening to their negative, and sometimes it's coming from a place of care, but it can just be negative, or it can just be their own beliefs that they're trying to project onto you. And I was like, this is the person that I'm listening to. And I think it's the same for you. Like people will always try, especially as, you know, you have more attention on social media and stuff, people always try to give opinion, but I think it's trying to, you know, be polite, but just stay very true to what you're doing. And just quickly on the price as well, something myself and Hannah spoke about this morning was that like, and what I would do is like write down that everything that you've achieved from a sporting sense, everything you've done with coaching, write it all down. That's what people are paying for. Because you can think they're paying for the nutrition plan and the training plan, and that's what your dad's saying to you, but what they're actually paying for is you and your expertise. So all that time and investment you've put into yourself and that expertise that you've gained for everyone in the room, when you're giving someone a check-in, like they're paying for all that you've done. They have like a cheat code to life, getting a 5 to 10 minute video from you of your expertise based on their problems. So we can see that as a weekly check-in, or you can see it as like they're getting to extract from me. And I think if you see it in that way, you'll understand that you do deserve to charge a high price and command it.
Yeah, because my family just think, oh my god, like my family don't understand because I don't say it to people. Even my friends, none of my friends know.
I think we all probably have groups of friends where we'll just talk about sports with them, and some other friends you might talk about business. And then like with my family as well, like you know, they'll ask me how things are going, and I just keep it like super surface level. I'm just like, oh yeah, good. And I think it's just knowing that, and not like, sometimes it just comes down from ignorance from other people, so don't get offended by it. Just know you have friends for different conversations, and it doesn't mean they're not a good friend. It's just kind of like the way life is. They're like, you're a gym instructor and you're like, yeah,
Yeah, it's literally that. They're like, what do you do?
Yeah,
I'm like,
clean the
I'm a
gym.
personal trainer. Yeah, like,
Daniel?
Biggest takeaway for me was that we really need to work on the nurturing piece again.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why that has become like a realization is because we have spent so many years building up such a big following that everyone who was coming to us knew us really well, knew our reputation, knew the results that we get. So they were very indoctrinated into our process and our methodologies, and they were very easy to convert. Whereas now that we're targeting a bit of a newer niche and we're getting a lot more new followers in, we're getting a lot of those, it's like kind of starting back at ground zero again, working on getting people to know who we are, to understand what we do, the results that we have, and our experience in the field. And that we need to go back to being able to nurture or to put things in place to nurture them much quicker, to get them up to speed so that when they do get to the point of inquiring to work with us, they're prepared, or they can see the value in the price and the investment that we charge to work with us. And that's probably been like the biggest realization from not just the mastermind, but over the last couple of months.
Yeah, and it just kind of shows how something we'd have spoke about, like you'll have like different problems at different stages. So like the connection trust piece was like one of your best components, and then you're like, oh shit, our conversions probably, our offers too like low in terms of what we're pricing ourselves too low. So then you fix the conversion piece, then things boomed, and then it's like, okay, let's add more people into our pipeline, and then it's like, oh, connection piece is something that needs work. So it shows that like you'll always have something to improve and prioritize. Anything, Amanda, you wanted to add to that? Or?
Aside from like building out these funnels for the nurturing stuff, just keep doing what we're doing. Like we're doing so much right, and I come to these events sometimes and I'm like, you're going to get it tomorrow, or I'm like, we need to do and because I love the chaos, like I thrive in the mayhem.
Dares that off, for fuck's sake. Yeah.
That's a really good point though, because myself, Daniel, and Amanda were on a call like a few weeks ago, and the whole call was me and Daniel talking about everything the business needs to improve on. And then Amanda then was like, we are doing really well though. And I was like, good point. And I was like, that was important because like year on year they're up like really, really well from last year. And you know, sometimes, which is important for everyone in the room, we can be looking at things that we're not doing enough of, or that we could be doing better. But it's also really important to kind of going back to that point about being proud of that position that you're in. So taking pride of like, okay, I'm actually, yes, there's things to work on and I want to get better, but actually having a sense of pride of where you're at as well. Even watching shows like Dragon's Den and stuff, and they're going through how like they're trying to get the people to invest, and they're like, how much revenue did you do last year? And they're like, 1 million. And they're like, what was profit? And they're like, 200k loss. And it's like businesses doing 1 million revenue and making a 200k loss. It just shows in like the online coaching space how good we have it in a way of like the margins we can build. So that's why, again, kind of in the comparison thing, not to compare yourselves to people's revenue. Cian?
I think for me it's just like getting clarity in terms of what I actually want.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm like guilty of like looking at other people and seeing what they're doing and be like, tell myself I want that.
Mm-hmm.
But like I think deep down I know what I want. I just need to actually get it out and like be okay with like wanting that, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And do you feel like you've got some clarity, or do you still trying to find
things I need to look at before I can actually sit and be like, this is what I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm definitely leaving with like a clear mind.
Good. Yeah, it's interesting though. I think you know, there'll be different stages where sometimes we're very clear on what we want, and other times that we're not too much. But that's what when I said to you as well. Do you know, if sometimes you're finding, and this kind of goes back to the value of having a team. Sometimes if you're kind of like lacking that inspiration in yourself, if you have a team there and you have people counting on you, it's like, how can you like lean into that? And like full transparency for clients in the room, like a lot of times I don't actually have like personal drive, or I felt lost with that, but I have a drive for you guys in terms of like, how can I show up as someone that you can look to for inspiration? And that honestly gives me a lot of sense of my drive when I kind of like lose it. So it can be the same for you with your team or with your clients, being like, I don't fucking know what I want right now, but I know I want to show up as someone who is worth looking up to and is worth kind of like leading. And I think you can actually get a lot from that, and it can do you a long way.
Yeah.
And then from that, over time you'll get more clarity.
Yeah.
Hayden, anything to finish up with?
Yeah, just thank you for being so amazing for like myself and Connor here, because you can come to these events, and I think it was, I can't remember who I was talking to, and they said they were slightly nervous about coming here and being in front of like loads of different coaches, and there's no egos. Like no one here has an ego at all, and everyone's at very different stages in their business, but everyone's very, very happy to help each other out, which makes our job really, really fun. So thank you so much for being great people as well.
And thank you to you and Connor for all the 21.
And a final big thank you for Kez for all our pictures.